feel like we finna change the cycle, ayy. That's more success, you know we thriving, ayy. That's more depression for our rivals, ayy. Could teach a lesson on survival, ayy. You know I'm from the bottom.
Welcome back, wealthy people. It is your boy, David Bellard. I'm here with my brother from another, Jalen Clark. Jalen, what's up?
What's up with it, my brother? How you doing, man? I am great, fantastic, blacktastic, fandabulous, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, however you want to call it.
Hey, feeling good, feeling great. How are you? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, y'all, welcome back. It's another beautiful Wednesday. We've been away for a minute. I know we told y'all we was gonna be back every week. But some things came up. We've gone through some changes.
Some technical difficulties arise. Like David just said, we're going through some changes, y'all. If you're clicking on the podcast app, you'll see it no longer says Revolt under there. So we parted ways with Revolt. Wishing them the best. No bad blood over there. We just wanted to go back to being on our own, getting a few things done ourselves. So yeah, we had to wait for that whole process to get through so we can start uploading again. But we'll be back with y'all every week now. Appreciate y'all for holding out. Thank y'all for rocking with us. Thank y'all for being with us since day one. If now is your first time listening, welcome to day one. Day one starts today. We're going to keep on going higher, keep on lifting off together.
Yes, indeed, my brother.
Yes, sir.
And like Jalen mentioned, man, it's no bad blood, nothing like that. You know, in business, there are partnerships. Things work. Some things go great. Some things don't go great. The partnership has been beneficial. We felt like we grew as much as we could with them. And for this next phase of what we're trying to do, ownership is key. And we've always owned the IP. That's always key. Let the record reflect that. You know, the IP never went nowhere. Nobody's ever owned Black Wealth Renaissance other than Black Wealth Renaissance. So we've been an independent show. We were able to build a movement out the mud, and we're going to keep that movement going. And what we really need is you, the people, right? We need y'all. We want to feed y'all with the information. And that's why, per special request, you know, we listen to feedback, guys.
We always listen.
We always listen because we always try to improve.
I read them comments. I might not read all of them, but I read most of them, the ones that make sense. If you talking that jibber jab and that craziness, I ain't paying attention to it. But if you got some good feedback, some good real stuff, we pay attention.
Yeah. So in light of that, right? This week's episode, we bringing back an interview for y'all, and man, this is a special one, bro. This man, he like one of the silent giants of business when it comes to the Atlanta scene, and I can't wait for y'all to listen to this interview. It's a phenomenal one. But before we get into that, y'all know what we need from y'all. That 5-star rating and review. You know what it do. You know, come on, man. Stop playing with us, man.
Yes, sir.
Y'all know we need that. It's free. It don't cost you no money. And our promise to you is that if you give us the feedback, we gonna listen to it, take it constructively, and use it to improve. Our goal is always gonna be to serve the community as best we can. And that's what Black Wealth Renaissance is all about, man. It's the reason we pray for y'all at the end of these episodes, brother. We're like, brother, sister, we really want to see each and every one of us win. And we need y'all to do that. So if you enjoy our content, leave us a rating and review. Share it with a friend that you think can benefit from it. Because we're going to keep going up. We're going to keep going up. We're going to keep giving y'all value and highlighting the people that need to be seen in our community.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we get into our interview, David, I think it's something that you told me that you had something for me on the pod. What do you have for me, man?
Yeah. And another thing, nigga, I got something for you.
That sounded a little aggressive. Say Jack.
You jive turkey.
Yeah.
But listen, the reason I'm coming with this hostility is because you called me out about my knee and I feel some type of way. I like what you're doing, but I don't like the way you're doing it, playboy.
Wait, what you talking about?
Nigga
Pause.
said, hey, brother, I'm challenging you to go get checked on. And he said, this is a nigga who knee been fucked up for
Oh,
3
I
months.
did say
Hey,
that.
you ain't lying. You ain't lying. But you struck a nerve with me, brother. And it said, a conversation we had offline was, whenever you went to the doctor told you, hey, man, you technically you're obese, brother. Well, I'm the bigger of the two of us, nigga.
Yeah.
It's always been that way since we've been knowing each other since 8th grade. I've always been a big dude. So in this time, as I'm reflecting, I got some health insurance. So y'all, I finally went through it. Yeah, my brother challenged me, so I'm gonna make sure to do it. You gotta have people that help you grow around. You know what I'm saying? So I got some health insurance. I'm gonna go get that checked out. We're gonna go get it checked out, right? But
hold on right quick, brother. I got something for you. Hold on.
Huh? When we got this back? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. We need the claps back. Wait, whoa.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Wait, that boy done popped the surprise on me for real.
I got something for you.
But yeah, man. In light of that, right? We both were talking about our health journey. I think we've been kind of mentioning it on the pod for the last few weeks, and that's something that I'm taking more seriously. So, as a part of that, what I want to challenge you to, my brother, and I want to challenge you publicly, is to a weight loss competition. Since doctor said you gotta lose some weight, and my big back ass gotta lose some weight and get my knee together while I'm doing it, I challenge you to see who can lose the most weight in 1 month. We recording this is May 6th. So 1 month from now on June 6th.
Okay.
We going to say what our weights is. So I weighed myself this morning. I came in at 313.
Got you. I am at 222.
All right. So we put it out here publicly. Now, this is the interesting part of the bet. Y'all know I ain't no betting man. I'm not a gambler. So,
oh man, I forgot about
it. Yeah, man.
Oh man,
the stakes are high. So guys, y'all know.
I'm afraid.
Instead of betting money, we're gonna bet something that really matters. We're gonna bet our appearances. So the loser of this bet gotta get the freaky man beard for him, and you gotta rock that hoe for a month. Now somebody listening to this might say, David, what's the freaky man beard? So y'all know that little soul patch with nothing else? You ain't got no stash, you ain't got no nothing under the chin, no beard, just a soul patch, just some hair under your lip. You may have seen the picture of Shannon Sharp floating around with it. R. Kelly also is somebody that has it. I ain't sticking on black people. Howie Mandel, the Deal or No Deal nigga, he had it too. And listen, if you wear that, you a freak boss. And the loser of this bet gonna have to be a freak boss for a month.
Not a month, bro. Can we just do a week and just let it? We at least gotta record.
The loser gotta record.
We at least gotta record one episode like that. Not the whole month, man. Whole month is crazy.
Every episode, it has to be real consequence, bro. Otherwise, niggas ain't gonna hustle hard enough. If I let you grow it back after, because I don't plan on losing. So if I let you grow it back after a week, bro, that wasn't real consequences.
Can you even grow a soul patch? Do you even have a soul patch?
I got a little bit of hair right here. That's all I'm gonna have.
Man, that I don't know if that count, man. Look at how thick this is. Look at how thick this is.
Hey, you better not lose, nigga. That's all I gotta say.
Bet. You know what? You're right. The thought of loss isn't even in my head.
You know what I'm saying? And look, just to make it a little bit more fair to you, because I'm a bigger dude, we could go based on percentage if you want to. That way, like, because I'd have to technically lose more.
I got you. I get what you're saying, because it's going to be easier for you to drop fat in the beginning.
Yeah, 'cause I ain't been on it, y'all. I'm be honest. I've
Yeah.
been big backing. I ain't been exercising. I've been Cadillacing. My back wide is all outside right now.
I ain't gonna lie.
I
I'm
was
back
doing
up
good
to
last year.
222. I was down, but I'm back up because I ain't gonna lie. I kind of got a little laxed after the wedding and everything. So yeah,
Niggas eating cake,
definitely was eating cake and everything. Oh yeah,
eating
speaking of
something
the
else
wedding,
too. But
everybody, I actually got married. So I'm a married man now. Got
congratulations
my
to my
ring on.
dog.
Yeah, appreciate it, my brother. I give me a little bit of
Yeah, man.
yes sir.
We gotta like share the photos from the wedding on the pod, bro. We're gonna put that have I ever crossed your mind?
I ain't gonna lie. That's funny. That's funny because I wanted that on the wedding playlist. That's
That's a nigga wedding song, bro. It's
yeah.
such a nigga
It
wedding
definitely
song.
is. It definitely
Is that
is.
Brian McKnight?
I think it is Brian
Yeah,
McKnight.
Brian McKnight make nigga music for weddings for sure.
Hell yeah. Okay, so that's a bet, man. Um, I think we got our brother Omar ready to go ahead and record with us. So we'll get that started, get that situated, and then
Yeah.
let's get this
So
show rolling.
as promised, y'all, we got a dope interview for y'all. I'm ready to tell y'all what's going on in a month. After I kick Jalen Ash, y'all gonna see him on here with the Freaky Man. If you're a pod listener, y'all go ahead and get ready to witness the greatness.
Yeah, y'all gonna witness David with a baby face.
Hey, subscribe to our YouTube channel, man. Interview with Omar Ali coming soon. Right now, let's get it. What's good, wealthy people? Yo, it's your boy David, and I'm here with my partner in crime, my brother from another, Jalen. What's down?
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Jalen, man. I'm in here feeling great, feeling blessed, man. How you doing today, David?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. I feel blacktastic, amazing, blessed, all that stuff. And
Yes,
you
sir.
know I'm ready because they've been asking for it, man.
Yes, sir.
Y'all been asking us, man. Hey, yo, when we gonna get some interviews? We with some dope people. But we told y'all we had to hold off because we didn't want none of the flexes and flagers and
Yeah, we
all
don't
that
want no
stuff.
fluff, nothing, none of that, man.
We want to bring you guys real people doing real business, and man, we have a treat for y'all today. This is a special episode, and I'm excited about the opportunity we have to discuss with this brother. Right. So let me just give a brief intro. So Georgia boy, born and raised, president of Ali Development. He's a entrepreneur, community leader, father, philanthropist, making impact on the highest levels of business. I'm talking global business, and really finding a way to take that impact and impact the community in Georgia, in his local community in Atlanta, and really building something special. Like I said, CEO of Ali Development, has a steel fabrication company, and also helping the next generation of business owners scale to the next level, going from that 6-figure, 7-figure mark to the 8-figure mark. We have none other than Mr. Omar Ali. Omar, thank you so much for joining us today. How you doing, brother?
I am doing well, brother. David, Jalen, thank you guys for having me on. You guys have truly one of the few authentic podcasters out there, and I love it. And so when you guys reached out to me, I was excited to come and speak to you all because you all get it, you know. In your introduction, you mentioned all of the fluff that's out there. You get it. We have to get down to the nuts and bolts, what really make things work.
Yes, sir. Omar, thank you so much for coming on, my brother. David, I'm excited that this is our first interview back
Facts.
with doing interviews. We got a heavy hitter. We're just chopping it up right before the show started. And there's a few things that I can't wait to get into. Before we start asking our questions, Omar, could you just give your own introduction to the world? I know David just did a great job, but how would you introduce yourself to the world through our platform?
Yeah, I am the president of Steel Fabrication Exponents and the president of Ali Development. I come from a small town, Griffin, Georgia. My father, the way that he raised us was extremely, extremely unique. I tell this story all the time, and you've probably heard me say it, and I just kind of briefly go over it again. When I was 11 years old, my father asked me what I wanted to be. This is the time that the Cosby Show was on. So I told my father I wanted to be a doctor. He said I couldn't be a doctor. I told him I wanted to be an attorney. He said I couldn't be an attorney. And so he said, I give you 1 year to figure this out. So on my next birthday, when I turned 11, he said, did you figure it out? I was like, no, sir. He was like, why don't you own the damn hospital? Why don't you own the law firm? If you want to play sports, why don't you own the sports team? From that point on, I was known in the neighborhood as the kid that carried a briefcase. It was full of toys, but I called myself a businessman at that very young age. And so since then, my father taught me, go to school, get an education, but don't go and get an education to come out to work for someone. It's okay if you do, but that's not what we strive for. Get an education and come out and own your own company. And my father had a very successful company also. So immediately after college, when I graduated, I jumped right into the steel industry and I cut my teeth, several times. But eventually I was able to grow the company up to 70 million. My first failure, and jump in anytime, brothers, my first failure was at 24 years old. Young, naive, and didn't really listen to what my father was teaching me and other business people. And I filed bankruptcy for my first company. The second company was the 2008 market crash. I was doing well. For a company that size, we were doing about 6 million at that particular time. But the 2008 market wiped us out. And my wife pulled me aside. She was like, look, don't give up. You know what you're doing. You can build something successful. Just keep at it. So I tried it the third time. And the third time was a charm. We hit a home run. Before you knew it, we was operating in over 18 different countries for the U.S. government. We was fabricating steel for the American Embassy of Tajikistan, Pakistan, London, Frankfurt, Germany, China, Swaziland, Djibouti, you name it. And so that's how we made our name and built our wealth and fortune in the steel fabrication. And then later on, we can segue of why we had to decommission that plant, and we moved everything over into real estate development, and I love it more. So from moving to 180 employees over to real estate development.
Man, that just in that brief, that's phenomenal. But I do want to, we got to go back to that bankruptcy because that's something we got to peel back, right? So you were 24 and you filed bankruptcy for your first company. What happened, and what did you learn from the experience that still guides how you do business today?
I grew too fast. I was trying to do too much. It's one thing you see those dollar signs and you want to grab every contract that you can get. But the reality of it is, do you have the liquidity? Do you have the finances to even handle those projects? And I did not. I remember my father telling me, like, you shouldn't take on that contract. How are you going to make your payroll? How are you going to buy the supplies? Because in the construction industry is pay when paid or pay if paid. And that's around 60 days. So you have to carry that burden for 60 days, carry your payroll, pay your vendors before you see a dime. And I didn't listen to that. I went out and got as many contracts as I can and couldn't fulfill those particular orders, and had to shut the company down and file bankrupt. But I wasn't ashamed to file bankrupt. A lot of our people, particularly blacks, are afraid to do that. That's what the law is for. It protects us for that, corporation for that. If you're not doing anything illegal, it is okay to file bankruptcy and get that restart.
That was some really good stuff in there. So with your very first company, that was a steel company that you went into as well.
Yes.
And then so before you filed bankruptcy, I heard you said your dad said you're gonna have to take on the payroll, you're gonna have to do all of these things. How much were you paying in payroll before it got to the point where it's like, I can't sustain this? Can you just walk me through, like, what does that look like for a 24-year-old? What type of stress are you under as you think about these things?
When I look back at it, the numbers seem so small, but they seem so big at that particular time. My payroll was only about $10,000 a week. So you're looking at $40,000 a month. But I remember some days I couldn't make the payroll. I had to call the employees in. And mind you, these are steel directors, these are gentlemen and men who just, they don't like that. So calling them into the office and telling them, hey, I can't make the payroll. They don't care. And rightfully so, they have families to feed, And it was just an eye-opener to understand what my father meant at that particular time. And then not only the people in the field, I couldn't make the payroll. In the office, The only thing that saved me from having to shut the lights off is my father owned the building. And I make no hesitation in letting that know that I got a leg up because of my father. We should be proud to state that that's what we want. So unable to make the payroll, but I didn't have to worry about the lights being on because I worked out of my father's office. And then as the company grew and as I did it again, just learn from my mistakes.
That's very key what you said there too. You said that, and that means, in the community, we often have a very negative view of the idea of nepotism, right? But that's generational wealth. Generational wealth is creating opportunity for the next generation to build. That platform that your father gave is actually what led to, your ability to grow and lead into you failing the first time and the second time to now you've done business in 18 countries globally. That's phenomenal. I can't think of a black man that I know that's, for one, owned a steel fabrication company, and
Yeah.
two, done business globally with that company.
Yeah.
So with that, with the bankruptcy, kind of going back to that a bit, was it a personal bankruptcy or just for the corporation?
The corporation. So one thing I was very smart and wise to separate personal from the business. And so I didn't have much tied to the company, and I would have never let that happen. My father taught me that a long time ago. So we filed bankruptcy for the company. So personal was still intact. Now you still get dinged from that from certain things, but it was an easy decision. Overall, it was an easy decision, but hard because of the families and stuff like that.
Gotcha. So I'll get back into that part, but I do want to know, why did you start off with the steel industry? What attracted you to that industry to say, hey, this is where I want to cut my teeth. This is where I want to build business at.
There was no black people in the industry. It was very few. And so that means, in my opinion, that means lack of competition. I could differentiate myself just a little because I'm African American. I could take advantage of some of the federal programs that were out there. We as blacks, we always want to get involved with what other people are already doing, like the beauty industry. How many of our
Yes.
people in the beauty industry? So when I was young, I wanted to go into something that was difficult, something that was different from everyone. And I wanted to add to my family legacy because my father had a demolition, asbestos abatement and general contracting company. What can I do
Gotcha.
to add to that? Yeah, I can easily come out and go work for my father. And my father had a retired general that used to work for him. And this general was nominated for Joint Chief of Staff at the same time Colin Powell was. And so he just decided not to take the job. And that's how Colin Powell ended up being Joint Chief of Staff. Was it Joint Chief of Staff or was it? Yeah, I think it was. But either way, he was nominated at the same time that Colin Powell was. But phenomenal with the way that my father taught me to operate and to run the business.
And kind of with that steel business, how did you end up scaling it to 18 countries globally? Like, what was that process like?
I love, man, I love negotiating. One of my favorite book is called The Caring But Not Too Much by Herb Cohen, Jewish guy. One of the world top known negotiators. He's negotiated from hostage crisis, business takeovers, you name it. And so I decided, number one, what can I do to lower my costs? I scoured the United States and in Mexico, what country can I go and acquire and take over? So I found a struggling company in Tecate, Mexico, ran all my numbers and everything, went down, made a pretty decent offer, just being diligent and saving over the years. And we live extremely humble. And I can never do this had I not lived humble. We didn't have any fancy cars, any fancy jewelries, any big homes, anything like that. That came later. And because I saved as much as I can, I was able to go down and make an offer for this particular business. So that got me into the steel industry in Mexico, fabricating my own material. But
So,
next, go ahead.
Omar, if you don't mind me asking, what was that investment like? Like, what was that?
It wasn't as okay. Let me roll this back because a lot of people are going to say that. Wait a second, that is a lot. But in the grand scheme of thing, I only invested $650,000.
A steel manufacturing
Honestly,
plant.
whenever you think about it, it's really not a lot. Like you said, on a macro scale, yes, but it's definitely still
So
not as
this,
much as you would think as it would be whenever you're acquiring. You said you acquired 140 workers,
Employees, yeah.
yeah,
employees in
a
Mexico and 40 stateside, right? Totaling up to 180
Yeah, so
employees total.
here, so here in the United States, I hired 40 people, but when I took over their plant, they already had 140 workers. And so we went through, interviewed everyone to decide who we wanted to keep, and it came with all of the equipment. Now, the equipment was a little outdated, but I didn't care. It was $650,000. And the owner of that particular plant, I promised to keep him on payroll as the president of that division for 2 years to help run things.
Mhm.
And so phenomenal, phenomenal opportunities. I tell everyone that business, success in business is probably 90% luck. How lucky was I to find that plant down there? Although I did a lot of research, but it was just luck that I ran upon this particular company and made them a $650,000 offer. And this
How did you
company,
find this company? What were you just on the internet looking at like brokerages? Did you have some connections? Like, how do you just stumble across? Oh, there's a steel fabrication on sale over here for $650,000.
In
I don't,
Tecate, Mexico.
I don't use brokers or anything. It's just the old school method. You pick up on the internet, you look at the size that you want. Okay, I want to stay within this particular size. There's a probability that these companies could be struggling at the 2 million mark and below. You literally pick up the phone, you introduce yourself to them, and you just ask them, hey, you ever thought about selling your company? And that's what I did. And the conversation started. The conversation may have taken about 6 months to get them to the point of comfort level, but
Mhm.
they were engaging, and that was good enough for me. It's just cold call. It's just
How many
nothing better
cold
than that.
calls you went through before you got your first yes? Because once again, you just said
Mhm.
it's 90% luck, but a lot of people don't know. I'm pretty sure you called a lot of different fab places before you actually found this
38. I know that exact number. I went through 38 companies, but I knew ahead of time what would get their attention. So we already had backlog worth of work for the United States government. I took a risk and I acquired contracts with the U.S. government. Now I have a backlog worth of work of about 4 or 5 million. I can take these to these fabrication plants and say, look, here's how we can stay in business. Here's how we can sustain your workers. Here's what we can pay you all. So the combination of that and just explaining to them the benefit was a home run. But I got a better story in a second and how we got into Dubai.
David, you're muted.
Sorry, y'all. I muted myself. I got the black people smoke detector today. I don't want to hear y'all hear it all the time. Yeah, no, I would love to hear that story, like with Dubai and getting into that area, because again, that's big business, man. On the global scale, you having to deal with different cultures, and people often think about all the barriers to getting there. I'm a fly on the wall with that one.
And so, by the way, the plant that we had in Tecate, Mexico, we got it certified as a NAFTA in the NAFTA agreement as a maquiladora. So we was part of the NAFTA agreement, and it took us about a year and a half to get certified. So we could transport goods from the Mexico to the United States to Canada free of any type of tariffs. So that was an advantage for us also.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Which ended up being our downfall later on when Trump was in office. But I
Got you.
digress.
So,
But I called a colleague that I knew in the Department of Commerce. Met her, luckily just met her, ran into her at a seminar, and we exchanged contact information. I called her and said, look, I want to go into Dubai. She's like, well, the United States have a program that all you will have to pay the United States is $500. I kid you not. Pay them $500. You tell us what companies that you want to do business with. We will vet those companies for you to make sure that everything is okay and the United States can do business with them. So I went back to the drawing board, like, what companies do I want to partner with in Dubai so that we can fabricate steel for the United States government, ship it to the Middle East, ship it to Africa, or ship it to the southern parts of Europe? Had a handful of companies, flew over there. The United States government picked me up from my hotel, chauffeured us around to every individual company. Now, they were not allowed to go into the meetings, but they still picked us up to make sure that a U.S. citizen is okay in another country. When I learned about this program, I was like, how in the hell do other people not know about this program? $500. Now, of course, you got to get your own way over there.
mhm.
So we end up settling with doing business with a company called Root Steel. Root Steel did about 100 million. Root Steel was owned by Arabian Roots. Arabian Roots did 1.1 billion. Arabian Roots were owned by the Saudi bin Laden family. And yes, the Saudi bin Laden family. And they did 40 billion. So now we negotiated a joint venture with the company whose parent company does $40 billion. All just by picking up the phone and just having a conversation with them and say, look, we have this opportunity that we can fabricate structural steel work for the U.S. government, for American embassies in the Middle East. And the rest was history.
You just answered a few questions I had, because I was hearing you talk about, we're contracting for the American government, but you kind of just answered it saying, we're doing this for embassies in the Middle East. So that was your whole motto with this, is you're just going for giving them building structures for the U.S. through providing that steel.
That is correct. So the structure still hold up the framework of every building. And so if you're familiar with what happened with 9/11 when the plane crashed into the towers or even the Pentagon, only a section of the Pentagon went down. And so the United States mandated that every one of their embassies had to be built with a progressive collapse system. And we know that progressive collapse system need steel. And so it was such an easy sell to them. Look, you guys don't have to do anything. Just do what you guys normally do. Fabricate the steel. Let's create a joint venture. We're going to bring you the projects. We don't need you to sell anything. We have the projects. What is your margin? Okay, does your margin fit within our cost structure? It does. It was below that cost structure. It actually allowed us to increase our profits in Dubai. Normally, steel you have a 10% profit, but because we were fabricating in Dubai, we had about a 25% profit now.
And was that due to not having to import, export, and everything like that? Is that
Just
why
cost
you
of
were
labor.
able?
Just
Gotcha.
cost of labor was so much cheaper. In Mexico, we had a 40% profit.
Dang.
And so before you knew it, we're on the verge of doing $70 million fabricating steel all around the world with high profit margins. It was just a phenomenal thing that we did. We wasn't greedy, and I learned from my mistakes in the past, trying to do everything myself. No, have no problem with doing a joint venture and giving up part of those particular profits. It's the long game.
Indeed. So Omar, earlier you kind of referenced the tariffs. Right now there's a whole tariff trade war going on, but the tariffs you're referring to was actually from Trump's first term, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So can
It
you
is.
kind of speak to how those tariffs on steel impacted the business, and did it play a role in making that pivot? Because I know you mentioned Ali development is now the main
Yeah.
thing. So was that part of that?
It shut our company completely down. We told everyone, you never want 100% buy America. Of course, you want the majority of goods fabricated here in the United States. But the minute you get rid of their competition, you leave it up to the corporate bigwigs to do the right thing. What do you think they're going to do? They have no competition. So it didn't have anything to do with the tariffs because of Trump. Trump placed the tariffs, but that got rid of every steel coming from outside of the United States. You couldn't get steel into the United States anymore. And because they didn't have any more competition, they increased their price. The U.S. steel mills increased their price on U.S. citizens by 36%.
Yep, they're going to always run it up.
And so what could we do? We couldn't get steel anywhere else. And the crazy thing about it, every one of our projects was already per the Buy America because we're working on American embassies. We had to get our products from the United States to begin with. We would get it from the United States, ship it across to Mexico, either ship it to Dubai. And so here we are, have a 30%, 36% deficit because of the tariffs. It was February, and I remember it just like yesterday. We had about 18 million in backlog, February. And that's the year we was going to do 70 million. Within 3 weeks of him announcing the tariffs, we had a 36% deficit on $18 million. You can't come out of that. And so that's when we decided to decommission the plant. That was one of the most hardest decisions that I ever had to make. You built something that was fantastic. And as a man, you feel, you go through a little depression. Anyone goes through a little depression because anyone who runs a company, you feel like if you don't have people to lead, you feel lost.
It's
And that
it's
was,
like it's your purpose. It's
yes,
like taking away what that one thing that you love to do every day. I kind of equate that from whenever it's like an older person, right? And they're like doing these things to get by every day to keep them alive. Like whenever our grandparents cutting their own grass and everything, I'm pretty sure that's probably the same type of remorse or the same type of grief that you felt whenever you had to decommission your site.
absolutely. Waking up every day knowing that you're responsible for hundreds of families, it's a very good feeling. And for that to be taken away from you, you're lost. You're like, what do I do next? But I didn't stay down long. I said, you know what? I remember this one time I bought a building for $300,000 and I put about $200,000 into it. So I'm $500,000 in, and somebody came and made me an offer of 1.4 million. I was like, well, that was pretty easy. Well, let me just research and see if I can do this and make this into a company. And that's how I got into real estate development. Never went to school for real estate development. Once you get to a certain level of understanding business and running business, you can take those same skill sets across almost any trades. That's why when you see the CEO of Delta may end up being the CEO of Ford or whatever it may be. You have those expertise, and you may not need to have exact knowledge in that industry. You can learn that as you go.
Mm. So before we jump forward into the real estate development, I got one more question about the still fab. So what was harder for you? Was it the first bankruptcy whenever you were 24, or decommissioning the fab in Mexico? Which one was harder for you to get through?
The decommissioning, because I'm older. I'm in my mid 30s at this particular point. You have a family. That was a little more difficult. And you've been in business for so long. And now the people that work for you, you know their family very
How
well.
many years were you in business at that point?
See, that was 11 years. 11 years, and so you develop this bond with some of your employees that work
Hmm.
for you, and to see what they're going to have to go through because you feel like you let the company down. But in realistic, I had nothing I
No
could do with
control
it.
of it. Yeah, you had no control of it.
And so, but it taught me a lot. We made our name known in the steel industry. We letter of recommendation from the Department of Defense, letter of recommendation with OBO, which is Overseas Building Operations. So we had a good thing. And so I was smart enough to know that I need to pivot, and let me pivot pretty quick. And so real estate is just phenomenal thing in my opinion.
Gotcha.
And that was a real nice pivot too. Like you said, the pivot was kind of natural for you because we said the deal you were all in 500K solar for 1.4 mil. That's 900K profit right there. That's definitely a good pivot for sure. I'm sure.
Yeah.
Uh, so with the real estate development, I know that's now the focus. Can you walk us through one of your most impactful developments?
you know, Oftentimes most of our people want to get involved with residential fix and flip, but the money is not there. The money is in the commercial side of things, holding on to it. And so one of our most notable building is the Ali building. We put our name, it was the first building that we put our name on. It's located in Lakewood, Atlanta. Lakewood, Atlanta is one of those areas that was extremely depressed, a lot of crime. Atlanta has these little pockets, just like Houston may have these little pockets the same way. And so it was no viable business in that area whatsoever, in that area at all. So we found a 30,000 square foot building. Well, let me tell you the story how we found the 30,000 square foot building. I literally pull out a map, pull over to a parking lot, put that map on my truck, and say I'm going to go down this street today, and just start circling abandoned buildings as I get to it. Go back.
Driving for dollars.
That's a good way to put it. I go back to my home and say, I got the addresses with these, pull up the city information, find out who the owners are. And I call the owners. Now, these buildings are dilapidated. So more than likely they're going to want to sell. So I call them and see if they want to sell their building. So this particular property was a church, and this pastor wasn't hearing me at all. I had to call other pastors to get him to even take my phone call. But it worked because we have such a good name. I made the pastor an offer. He took that money and went and built him another church because the building was just run down. His congregation had dwindled to a little or nothing. So that particular building, we put our name on it, and we have 100% all Black tenants in that building, from a coffee shop, Black Coffee. We also have a restaurant owned by a young Black sister. The top floor is Black practitioners, from doctors, chiropractors, acupuncturists, and psychiatrists. And then there's a spa in the building. And then my wife runs a venue in the building as well. So phenomenal. That is the one that I'm most proud of. That is the one that most people can probably catch me on at least once a week. And I feel bad because I feel like I'm neglecting my other projects.
No, because whenever you were sharing with me about just the idea, right, with commercial versus residential, we've interviewed a lot of real estate investors. Most of the
Mhm.
real estate investors we do, and I made the driving for dollars analogy from that actually, because that's one of the strategies they teach. You know, when you're looking for residential, you're looking for the dilapidated houses. But on the commercial side, when you were breaking down to me how much more revenue is generated, it's crazy. Because the Ali building you just mentioned is multiple floors, and each one of these floors have leases, and these leases generate revenue.
So the Ali building, just imagine, you don't try to hit a home run. I have friends who've been trying to do 50 million and 100 million projects. It's going on 10 years and they still haven't did it. Start small. So the Ali building, that one building brings in about $530,000 a year. And to me, that's a lot of money, $530,000 a year. It should be a lot of money to most people. And
Yes,
imagine
it
if you
is.
have a lot of those. But the beauty is, when it comes to commercial, debt is the beauty. And I think I shared this with you, David. We have a property, and this one is not the Ali building. This particular property is valued at about $7 million. The debt on this building is only $1.2 million. That's a lot of equity in there. And so what you want to do, you want to pull out all of that equity as much as you can, not refine or anything. If that building is stable and it's making money, banks will allow you to pull out that equity. You can pull out at least 70 or 80% of whatever the equity is. So this particular building, we were able to pull out $4 million cash to do whatever we want to do with it. And you ask yourself, why would we want to do that now we have a bigger mortgage? It's going to take me, for that particular building, it would take me probably close to 10 years to get that 4 million. Do I want to wait 10 years, or do I want to pull it now? I'm shrewd enough a business person to understand that, okay, I'm not going to make money, so let me not put more debt on the building to where I'm losing money. But it's okay if it break even. I just pulled out $4 million, and I can take that $4 million and invest it in the next one. So most buildings, skyscrapers in Atlanta, most of them have debt on it. They're upside down because the owners or the developers poured out all of the equity. That's the name of the game in commercial.
So question. With the commercial and the debt, right? You just
Mhm.
said if the building is stable, the banks will loan to you. What does that look like to have a stable property, right? Are they looking at the occupancy? Are they looking at what are they factoring in for for them to say, hey, we'll loan you this money on this property?
It is the occupancy rate and the type of tenants. We were intentional. Everyone tried to regulate us to the stereotypical business, salons, barbershops. Oh, we wanted to have financial stable companies. So they look at, okay, you have a 10-year lease, you have a 5-year lease. Your average lease in your entire building is about 7 years. Okay, that's phenomenal. That's great. And everyone is paying on time, and you're 90% occupied. Based upon you being 90% occupied, you can actually afford a mortgage just $4 million more. So because we know you can afford that, we're going to give you that additional $4 million. Now, it was hell trying to find a bank to do that. We got discriminated left and right. And in fact, it was illegal what some of the banks did. We had some banks tell us that they didn't want to allow us to pull out the equity just because of the neighborhood that we was in. First of all, it's illegal. And the audacity to even say that to me. But what am I going to do? Sue the bank?
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to go to bank after bank to bank to finally we found someone who was willing to do it.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought up the discrimination part, because whenever you're talking about how you pivoted from steel to commercial, the thing that went off into my head is you're finding a lot of industries where there are not a lot of black people in these industries, right? From the steel to the commercial real estate. One of our friends, Tim, he was always talking to us about commercial real estate out in Dallas, and he gave me a crazy stat that it's only 3% of black people in the United States that actually like own commercial real estate. It might be lower than that, but 3% is what I remember him saying. So with, going bank after bank after bank, what did you learn from that? Was it a way that you had to deliver? Was it a way that you had to be more creative in the way you were structuring the deal? What were some of the lessons that you learned from trying to close on that finance?
It was nothing I can do to change their minds. I just had to find a bank who was willing to do that. And that is the hard part about being black. I remember Magic Johnson making a statement how many different people he had to go to get a loan. This is Magic Johnson. And so here I am facing the same problem. You quickly realize that a lot have not changed for blacks. We still can be extremely successful and still face discrimination like you wouldn't believe it. So it was nothing I can do with my portfolio, nothing I can do different, was continue to shop it around.
And with the portfolio and being black in commercial real
Mhm.
estate, did that also make it more difficult for you to acquire properties as well?
No, not at all. I have a knack for finding properties, Um, I would say I mentioned my friend who was trying to do a $100 million development. It's never going to happen. And that's the story that I said I learned through my first bankroll. So let me do something that I can actually afford. But I found an area that I knew all of the development was heading in Atlanta. All of the development had to head south. Most people want to go into the areas that is already booming. I'm the opposite. Where are the areas that are dilapidated to where the only direction that development can go is through my area? And so some of the properties that I've purchased in the Lakewood area has quadrupled in price within 2 years. So I
Sheesh.
have it's amazing. I have this one property that 2 years ago it was valued at 2.8 million. Now it's valued at 6.9 million in just a matter of two
Gee,
years. And so I tell everyone you can go to the rich area that you want if you want to, but it's going to take a longer return on your investment. You should only go to those particular areas you have deeper pockets. I'm not trying to go to those particular areas because I don't have the deep pocket as the large billion-dollar developers do here in Atlanta. I want to go to an area where I can get a huge return on my investment. And so I
And
told all black developers that I know, I'm going to the Lakewood area. I said, look, come with me. I said, we're not coming to the hood. I'm like, look, you guys are going to regret it. So I start buying up property left and right, $20,000. Literally, I got a property for $10,000. Also, just vacant
commercial
land,
property?
commercial vacant land. um, and then buying other buildings for 500,000, $1 million here. You build that portfolio up very quickly, and you hold on to those properties until you can get to the point to pull out a loan on it to develop it.
This reminds me of David with
that's what I
Scotty
was
with
thinking.
South
Talking about
Dallas.
South Dallas, and Scotty and Tim. Honestly, they both said,
Yeah, both
"Oh,
of our friends in Dallas, they did the same thing, kind of like with the South Dallas neighborhood. And they
Hmm.
went whenever they were figuring out the construction and everything. So were you going to a lot of city planning meetings? How'd you know, hey, this is the area that all development has to come through? Was it just like intuition, or were you actually kind of calculating some of these things?
Intuition and going to the city planning meetings. It's common sense. If you're driving and you see that an area has so many buildings, how many more buildings can you put in that particular area? It has to start going somewhere else. And so going to the city meetings and understanding that the city now wanted to start going south. And so I commissioned a study of my own. Before we went into the Lakewood area, I did a study of 2 mile radius of every property within 2 mile radius in Lakewood. I knew the homeowners. I knew every building that was blighted. I knew every vacant land. I said, okay, this means that there's opportunity in this particular area. It's just too many blighted properties. And so I searched for that particular property and just put off stakes down right there in the middle of Lakewood after we did all of the research first.
And you said, I know you mentioned earlier that in 2 years they quadrupled in value. This was 2 years ago with some of these properties in Lakewood, or what was the timeline like for this?
And 2 years ago with some of the properties in Lakewood. Yeah, so you can imagine if I go in and buy a 20,000 square foot building, that 20,000 square foot building is valued at 2 million, it only have one direction to go, which is up. And so we knew that so many large other development was coming. Right around the corner, a half a mile, another developer is doing a $300 million development. There is another development that's coming down the street, that's $75 million development. So we knew all of the large developers were coming this way. So the only direction that the property value can go was up.
Mm. And
But before
earlier,
we, no, go ahead, brother.
no, yeah. So earlier, y'all were kind of alluded to you going to the city's meetings and seeing what the city's plans are. I kind of wanted to pivot into talking about politics, because I think that's a big part of business that we often don't look at as a part of business. And yesterday, when you and I were speaking, you were sharing with me that you had caught some flack from the local community in Georgia, because you've worked with both sides of the fence on the political spectrum. So
hmm
what I want to ask is, like, what has you working with politicians taught you about power, influence, and opportunity for Black entrepreneurs?
That we've been doing it wrong for so long. If you're going to be 100% Democrat, you're going to get what they give you. If you're going to be 100% Republican, you're going to get what they give you. Why not sit in the middle like every other culture? Let's break it down. Let's look at the Hispanic culture, the Asian culture, even regardless if they're Japanese, Chinese, Indonesian, or even Indian. They sit in the middle and look how far they have achieved, much more than us. We are the only race that's going to have a negative net worth pretty soon. How's that possible, And so we just decided that we're going to sit in the middle, and we caught so much hell that the first Republican that we supported was Governor Kemp. And we supported Governor Kemp over Stacey Abrams. So go figure, you have Black men supporting a white Republican over the first Black female Democrat running for governor in the state of Georgia. We knew that we was going to take a lot of heat, but we didn't care. We're going to side with whomever is best for the Black community. Whoever can deliver our water, that's who we're going to go with. And you fast forward to this presidential election, we supported VP Harris, so much so that we just don't come out the gate supporting anyone.
Mm-hmm.
We have a plan. Is that particular candidate willing to listen to our plan for minorities, economics? We only care about economics. We don't want to fight the battle for education. We don't want to fight the war on crime. We don't want to fight the war for jobs. We think all of those are a symptom from the lack of economics. We can solve all of those problems. How long have we been trying to fight police brutality? Since I can remember Rodney King. Look where we are, the same exact place. So my philosophy is, the hell with all of that, Just put economics in our community, and we'll solve our own problems. We don't need anyone else to solve them for us. We will do it ourselves. And so that's why we stay in the middle. I think I shared with you the most pivotal moment when we was doing research. We was on the bandwagon like everyone else in the state of Georgia, saying Republicans are not giving us our share of work. In the state of Georgia, at that point, it was only 2%, less than 2% of contracts went to minorities. All of minorities, 2%, and that's including women. And after we
Damn.
started doing our right,
That is crazy.
sad. And so after we started doing our research, there's approximately 535 cities in the state of Georgia. 121 of those cities are historically Black cities, run by Democrats. The voting population is 51% or more Black, but the average body itself is 70 to 90% Black. They too do less than 2% with Blacks.
So a fifth of all the cities in the state of Georgia?
Yes, are controlled by Democrats and majority Black. And so at what point do we say we've been fighting this battle the wrong way? Not only are Republicans to blame, Democrats are to blame. Georgia should have thousands of Black millionaires. All of those cities, think about it, from paper, cutting grass, building buildings, everything that those cities need legally, they have to put out a bid for. But yet they do less than 2%. So we got fed up and we sat in the middle and we said, we need to show our people there's a different way to do it. We need to show them that economics is the only way, because if you go to school, get a good education to come out and work for other people, I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but you're still going to be beholden to others when it comes to that particular job. And that's the problem that we have. When you look at Black women, phenomenal job that they have done with education, but we're still in the same situation.
Yeah, and I think the reason it is the way that it is, like the reason we are in the same situation, is because so often we look at the optics of things and don't think deeper about the actual impact. We look at, like when you mentioned earlier, you guys supporting Governor Kemp over Stacey Abrams. On the optics side, people will look at that and like, this Black man is supporting a white man over a Black woman and leave it at that, just face value. They don't look into the actual policies, the actual politics of it, where what you just shared with us was Stacey Abrams willing to work with and put an initiative in place to increase the amount of business getting given to Black entrepreneurs and minority entrepreneurs. And you did share with me that Georgia did actually pass with Governor Kemp the first minority bill to kind of work on increasing that, correct?
So he told us that he would champion the bill for us, and he held true to that. So Georgia has its first, they don't call it the minority bill, of course, but it has its first bill to where when you read this bill has language in there for Blacks. It's the term is socially and economically disadvantaged business.
Mm.
And so Georgia has its first bill now. It needs to be improved upon, but a white Republican was the first person that championed it. And when you look at the history of Georgia, although I'm an independent and 90% of what I do, I vote Democrat 90%. But Georgia has only had 4 Republican governors ever. Nobody would think that about Georgia. When it's all said
I
and
wouldn't have
done,
thought that about Georgia either. I will be honest with you.
yeah. So when it's all said and done, they're the same. Let's just put it that way. When it comes to the economic empowerment of Blacks, the majority of Republicans and the majority of Democrats are the same. And you have your few outliers that you see that continue to fight for us. But when you look back, it's the same faces that we see over and over again speaking up and fighting. What does the rest of the Democrats think about it? What do the rest of the Republicans think about it?
I also loved how whenever you're talking about how you're choosing, who we're going to support, and whenever you're doing your due diligence, you're solely focused on the economic impacts, and how you
Yeah.
listed all of the other struggles and all of the other hurdles that we have to overcome within our community are direct side effects of the lack of economic impact and the lack of economic power. I wish that more of our people actually understood that part, because once we have that control, that's whenever we really become dangerous, and we can make and move and
Mhm.
operate as an independent, versus just going to who is going to give me the best thing. No, whenever you move the way that you're speaking, we're going to demand what we need, and who's going to play game. It's not we're asking for handouts. This is
Yeah.
what we have. This is our economic impact.
And we never leave it up to the politician to come up with a plan. We take them our plan. That's the way it should be. Here's what we think we should be from an economic standpoint. Let's focus on that. When you look at the numbers, there's 43 million Blacks in the United States. What if we taught 10% of our youth to start their own businesses? That's 4.3 million businesses. And the average small business have 3 employees. And no matter how you look at it, white people generally hire white people, Asian people generally hire Asian, and Latino generally hire Latino people. And the same
Facts.
thing, for Blacks. So that would be 4.3 million businesses. If each one of them hired 3 people, 12.9 million, we just employed 12.9 million of our own people. So how could you deny the numbers when it comes to economics? And so that's why our focus is solely on economics. We're not saying don't get a good education, but we're saying that our focus now should be creating our own business, and take a chance. Before you know it, we will have a Facebook, we will have a LinkedIn, a Instagram, Twitter, and all of that. Mark Zuckerberg started out because Peter Thiel invested $500,000,
Mm-hmm.
and now you have Facebook. and no one is running around saying they need to focus on education first. They dropped out of college. I'm not saying drop out of college. I just think our priorities are wrong in the African American community by not focusing on economics. We stay in this loop over and over again.
Yeah. And I do have some pushback. What about the people that say, well, everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. Everybody's not meant to have a business. What do you say to those people who tell you that? Because whenever I hear, the number that you said was like 10
10%.
million. Yeah, 10, was it 10%?
10%
Would
would
be
equate
4
to
million businesses.
4.3
3
million.
million.
4.3.
So my pushback with that would be, okay, well, that's the other 90%. I'm only saying 10%.
They're going to
And so-
employ at least 3 people. I feel that.
And they'll employ a quarter of the people. I got you.
Yeah. And so I run into that situation all the time where everyone is not meant to be an entrepreneur. And you're right. I'm only asking for 10%. And if we can't create 10% of our people to create their own businesses, that's a shame, And if anybody push back against that, that's a shame also.
I definitely agree.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because it makes me think whenever you brought up the example with Zuckerberg. With us getting a Facebook or something like that, Black people have done so much with so little for so long that imagine what it would look like if we had that economic backing. Because each one of those guys that you mentioned, the Zuckerberg or Bezos, they had large investment from family or family friends. And that's the piece that's missing a lot of times in our community because we don't have the equity in those enterprises. So I see the vision, and it makes me really want to get into what you're doing now on the consulting side of things, because what you're doing now is directly impacting businesses to help business owners grow and scale, right? So I wanted to ask, like, what made you want to get into consulting?
Since we're on tech right quick, I want to touch on a subject. In Atlanta, there's a gentleman, Isaac Hayes, and he has his app, which is called Fanbase. And I sit back and I watch his social media and all credit. And I'm thinking, like, how could it be so difficult for this brother to find investment? Now, it should be very, very simple for him to find investment, but it just goes back to how difficult the struggle it is, because if he got the right investment, there's not a doubt in my mind that his platform could be very, very big. But we don't have those particular opportunities. And so that kind of segues into the consulting part of it. We got so tired of people preying upon our own people, claiming to be great business leaders. I'm good at real estate. I'm good at business, but they don't have a pot to piss in. They've never really did anything. They're just taking advantage of African American people. So we wanted to see, what can we do to truly scale people? And so my wife told me to put up a shut up, She said, form a company. And so we formed a legitimate consulting company to where we hired a gentleman who was the liaison to President Obama. He was a liaison to over all 50 states. We hired a white lady who was under the Trump administration. We have a close friend of mine who joined, Waleed Shamsuddin. He was the masterminds behind of the operations of helping put together Bankrupt Seafood. Although that wasn't part of the consulting company, but he helped Killer Mike and T.I. put together Bankrupt Seafood. And so we have another great guy who is a partner in the company. He's in the tech industry with it. And so we have a legitimate consulting company. And the goal is only scaling Black businesses. We don't care about, if you don't know the difference between a C Corp, a S Corp, or LLC, we don't want to take your business on. We want to be able to take your company to the next level to show you how to make millions. How do we walk you into to meet the DOD? How do we walk you into so many different, if you want to meet the mayor of Atlanta, how do we get with you to meet the mayor of Atlanta? If you want to meet the governor, if you want to meet Fortune 500 companies. And so we take it from that particular approach.
I'm glad we're on this subject, because something that I've been preaching lately is, whenever we're talking about Black business, I think we need to talk about meaningful Black businesses. David's laughing because one of my things, I went on a rant about this, is I'm tired of seeing so many Black people just start a t-shirt company or start kind of like what you said, whenever you decided to go into steel or you decided to go into commercial,
Mhm.
it wasn't a lane where there was a lot of people. But my biggest thing is we need things that are meaningful and necessary for businesses, right? So like with you and your steel fab business, that's meaningful and necessary. You need that to build these structures. You need all of these things. So my thing is I'm challenging all of our future entrepreneurs is how can we get into these meaningful and necessary fields, right? What does that look like with all of the things that are on the horizon, with these microchips, with all of these, with AI, with all of these things that are coming up? How can we get into those sectors? Is that some of the issues that you're going to be addressing with your consultant firm?
Unequivocally, absolutely. We have one company who's trying to get involved with AI. He wants to do AI with Space Force, where I know the head lady over at Space Force, African American lady too. So we want to get people into tech, every particular sector that we can think of that is not, and there's no shade against the people that are making soap, waste beads and things like. There's no shade against that, but we can think much bigger. I did a post. I had to take this post down, and I don't do much on social media and all, but I did a post talking about Target and how we need to get into essential products. Boy, they raked me over the coal, our own people. It was like, how could you say that our approach is wrong? And I'm like, look, why are we making products only for Black people? There's nothing wrong with you own the product as a Black person. Make it for everyone. And if you
Mm-hmm.
want to make a line strategically for Black people, I get that. But that can't be all of your entire company. How do we get into essential products and not just only in the beauty products? When I say essential products, if we're going to make t-shirts, let's just make some plain white t-shirts and socks for everyone to buy.
How you become the guild and where they're actually printing on your T-shirt.
There you go. Pet food, every essential product that you can think of. Why can't we get into those paper products, pencils, paper, nothing that's fancy that nobody see, but everyone is going to buy that particular product. If we focus on essential items, before you know it, we will have companies worth 100 million, 500 million. We will get into billions. And we can't be afraid to get into those sectors that nobody know about. Like we should be teaching our youth AI. We should, this should be courses. We need to get into this ASAP because we're going to be left behind.
Facts.
I see China is requiring it as their youth to learn AI in
Well, as
like
early as like first grade.
kindergarten or first grade. Yes,
That's remarkable. We should be doing the same thing here. Yeah.
I agree.
I equate, I, I read a lot of war books, and I equate the approach to African Americans. When we go to war, how many countries do we fight at one time? One. And when we fight multiple countries, it become a war to where our allies come and aid us, right?
Mhm.
So we as African Americans, do we have allies? We don't have allies. There's no other races who come into our aid. So why do we want to fight the battle of everything else? Focus on one thing at a time. Win that particular war because we have limited resources. And this is a case study. No matter what you think about, every country, even as powerful as the United States, is not going to fight multiple wars by itself. And so we as African Americans should focus on one singular focus, which is economics. Let's get strong in that. And then we can fall back. Now that we have money, let's go and fight this issue with police brutality. Let's go and fight this issue with education. And that's my approach.
I love it. I love it.
It's real actionable stuff. And I really want to ask another thing for the business owners out there listening, right? So,
Mhm.
what are some scalable strategies that existing businesses can use to grow through government and corporate contract?
So most people don't realize this. So they may be attacking DEI and minority programs, but there's one thing that they're never going to attack is the sole source. Think about sole source. Elon Musk was able to get a contract through sole source with Teslas. And so they're not going to get rid of sole source because who's involved with sole source?
What I'm sorry, Soul Source?
Soul, SOLE, soul, like individual. So the federal government says that by right, if you come up with an idea that's going to save us money, legally, we have to listen to that. We're not saying that we're going to do business with you, but we got to hear you out legally because you coming up with an innovative product and you bringing that to us that's going to save us time, money, and make our country greater. And if that product holds true, we have a legal right to negotiate directly with you without bidding. And so we've won sole source. My father won sole source. This is phenomenal that most people don't realize this. And again, they're not going to get rid of it, because if they get rid of that, you get rid of Boeing, you get rid of Lockheed, Raytheon. What's the name of the company that negotiated the port of Panama? You get rid of them. You get rid of Elon Musk. So sole source contracting is not going anywhere. It's written into the federal regulations. And so those are some advantages that people can do, take advantage of, even on the local municipality level. Those are some ways. We just have to educate ourselves and learn about that.
From what I'm hearing, sound like y'all need to Google some of these essential businesses strategies and Google sole source.
Or just hire us and we'll do it for you.
So
Yes,
yeah, so for somebody that would like to get involved and they're listening to this, they have a business, you know, they're doing well, but they could be doing better. There's say 6-7 figure operator trying to get to that next level. How do they get involved with Stratos Consulting?
Yeah, so I would say the best thing to do is to go to my website, my personal website. I have everything listed on that. It is omar-ali.com, or you can find me on Instagram. Look, see, now I'm about to show my age. I got to pull up my handle on Instagram to let you know I'm not on social media that much. But you
I
can
thought
find
you was
me.
about to grab. I thought you was about to grab off the hip with the you know what I'm talking about. You said show
Now,
your
hold on
age.
now.
you thought he had the
Hold
clip on the hip?
The clip on the hip, nah. Yeah, I was say you ain't unk status like that, Omar.
Oh,
Come on,
what a
nah.
time. But if they want to find me on Instagram as well, that's Omar Ali -OAA. And so, look, I am reachable. You know, you search me, you can just go to my website, email me directly, and I will definitely get back in contact with you. And again, that's omar-ali.com.
And
You know, we
I'll
did.
be putting that in the show notes as well, listeners. omar-ali.com. I'll make sure I link it, make it real easy for y'all to follow it.
You know, David, Jalen, I think we missed one key point, and I'm not sure if I shared this with you. I did share it with you, David. Our family, we have a 300-year plan.
Yes,
Okay,
My
I didn't
father,
know about this.
yeah,
I'm interested
real
though.
legacy.
yeah. And so most people look at legacy as their kids. That's short-lived legacy. And so my
Mhm.
father was wise enough to come up with a 300-year plan that showed us that, look, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right so that your kids and their kids always have a leg up and don't have to struggle like we did. That's what true legacy is. And our entire family, we have to put into this, you know? Even when things got bad with my company, we don't touch the trust. The trust is there for a particular reason. You know, it's not there for me. It's not really there for my kids. 300 years from now, during that particular process, anyone with the last name of Ali, we want to have an advantage, and that's what legacy is about, family. And we apply that not just to our immediate family; we apply it to the community. Our creed in our family is, of course, God first, then community, then family. And some people ask me, why is community ahead of family? Your family is part of the community. You know, you take care of the community, you're going to take care of your family. And then yourself is last. And so we live by that.
That's beautiful, brother. That's beautiful and inspiring. You still muted, Dave.
I was just saying that's profound.
Yeah.
That's like the idea of a 300-year plan. A lot of times, you know, we think short term, like you said, we think 20, 30, 40 years down the line, but
Once
real
again, my
legacy
kids
is
are kids, but y'all
Mhm.
are thinking 5 generations down the line.
and
Absolutely.
that's the type of thinking that we as a community really do need to adopt, because as you referenced earlier, the projection is that as a whole, the black community, the average black family will have a $0 net worth by 2053.
Mhm.
That can't happen when you have a 300-year plan that strategically puts things in place. And you did mention that you guys have a trust, so I just kind of want to ask about that a little bit. So did your dad set up the trust, or was this something that was set up in the second leg of the 300-year plan?
So my father, he set up, we have a family trust, and every individual person in our family is responsible for starting their own trust. So we have an overall trust, a family trust, and then I have my own trust that's only tied to my family, you know? And it's just being smart with certain things to where I don't own much of anything. My trust owns a lot of it. And most people look at the trust the wrong way. We tell our trust what my kid can do when he reached the age of 18 in case I die. What can he do at the age of 20 if he want to have access to this particular money? We lay it out. You have to meet these particular milestones. And then you have to think like, okay, what happens if your son or daughter marry someone and then they die and that particular person is not a good person? Now you've just introduced somebody into the family that's getting part of the family money that may not have the same value. So you have to think long and hard like that also. And you have to have things in place for years to come. So our trust is really thought out, very impactful. Anything, any loophole that you can think of, we've kind of covered it.
So I'm guessing it's a irrevocable trust, since it's the measures in place just to take care of those things, right?
Yeah, we have one. We have an irrevocable trust. We have several types. Yes.
Yeah, that's dope. That's
Yeah,
dope.
that's beautiful, dog.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Dave and Jalen, I know you guys want to get into real estate. Let's see how we can make some money for you all.
Okay.
Yeah,
We
and
definitely
I
gonna have
mean
to
that's
chop up about that
sincere.
one.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I
come to the
know.
line.
My personal goal this year is to get into my first house hack. But I'm I'm all for the game that you're laying down, because
Yeah.
the information that you're giving and the things that you're sharing is like, yeah, I'm thinking on a certain level, but there's a level above it that, sometimes I always say it like this is the reason we started this podcast: exposure leads to expansion. Most of what we've been exposed to is the residential side, so that's where your mind goes. But whenever you get exposed to different things and expand your mindset, you definitely can. I see a whole different lane and lens through this now after the conversation with you.
And it doesn't take long. Since we've been involved with real estate development, it's going on 6 years. We've quickly developed a portfolio close to 30 million. You just got to stay laser focused, man. It doesn't take much.
And I'm not gonna lie to you. Like for me, everything that you just said definitely falling on me heavy. Because once again, I've just started my family, building my family. So all of these generational things that you're talking about, all these generational concepts, there's definitely some things that I would like to implement and start thinking about how can I create a 300-year plan for my family, make sure that the Clarks are taken care of in the future.
Absolutely. And we have to collaborate, true collaboration, and support each other. It can't be this fake persona that's out there. Even in the city of Atlanta, we're guilty of doing that in the city of Atlanta, just different people. It has to be authentic. We have to, if you guys go on to be billionaires, I should celebrate that. There should be nothing wrong and no hate toward that. We have to really support each other truly, even if those particular people are doing better than us. We can't do it alone.
I love it. So, Omar, I do have one question before we let you go, brother.
Okay.
What's one thing every Black entrepreneur listening to this podcast should take away from your journey?
Grow slow. Do not be afraid of risk. You are the last person to cut your lights off, even if you fail. And to me, a failure is nothing more than just another journey into my life. So I would say grow slow and take risk. There's five. Wait, no. If I get into this, you're gonna probably have a lot of more questions. I could talk all day on
So
this.
you're learning us, because we got
Yeah,
questions, man.
we would definitely keep on asking.
But
Maybe we can
read.
save that for a part two. Maybe we come out to
Yeah.
Atlanta, or we get you out to Texas, and we can do
Okay.
an in-person interview, and then we can just sit there and chop it up for maybe about 2 hours and just really just peel back some layers.
David, to answer that question again, read a new book a month. I read
You
a
gave
new.
us one book, Caring but Not Too Much. Who was the
Yeah,
author of that book?
Herb Cohen. Yeah,
Heard
Herb, Herb. That's my southern dialect. Herb
Cohen.
Cohen,
Gotcha.
Cohen. And then my next favorite book, I'm sure you guys have read The Art of War.
Yes.
Yeah, but I
Yes.
read it again, but put on your lens of business and apply those military tactics only to business.
How often do you reread books?
I probably have 3 that I read over and over again, you know.
What would
There's
be
a
those
few
3?
books that I
So it would
reference.
be Art of
Yeah.
War. What would be the other 2?
The Caring But Not That Much, and
Okay.
then the Book of Five Rings. It's a Japanese book, and the reason why I love The Art of War, because you cannot win a war and you cannot run a successful company without having these type of people. But you as the general, you have to know how to handle these particular type of people. You can't win, you can't be successful without someone who's brave, intellect, greedy, and foolish. If you think you can run a company without somebody who's foolish and greedy, you can't.
Mm.
But you as the general have to know how to be able to manage those particular personalities, because a greedy person, what is he going to want to do? He's going to want to go
Grow,
out and make.
expand.
There you go. A foolish person, let's
They're gonna
take
believe beyond just seeing the barriers that's in front of them.
that is. And when you look at it from when you look at it from a military standpoint, the Beach of Normandy. Now,
That was
I
such a
understand that.
grandiose, so crazy, ballsy, gutsy
How do you get off?
military strategy.
Yeah, right. How do you get off that boat knowing there's only a line of fire? Like, people call that bravery, but you gotta have a little
That's
foolishness.
foolish too. Yes.
Right.
I
And so,
love military like documentaries and everything. So I'm nerding out with you. Like, it's foolish. It's quite
right.
foolish.
And so you gotta have that, because hey, are you gonna do it? Okay, I may not be able to do it, but let me put somebody on my team who's gonna take that risk more than other people. And so business is the same way, but you as the general, you have to have all of that in you. No matter what nobody tell you, you have to have all of those elements in you. You have to know how to control all of those elements with other employees too.
That was a good nugget to leave
Yeah.
off on, brother.
Yeah, for
I'm not gonna
sure.
ask no more questions. I got
All
some,
right.
but I'm not gonna ask them. That was great.
Omar, man, again, bro, thank you so much for joining us on this episode. There's a lot to unpack. Everybody, y'all make sure that y'all follow this man. Y'all tap in with the movement. What you're doing is beautiful. The Ali family, we didn't mention that, but his family got a page too. I was scrolling through there looking at it. It's so beautiful to see a black family. That the father's a leader. He's in business. Just it's beautiful to see, man. I really, really aspire and admire the things that you're doing, man. I aspire to reach those levels and admire the things that you're doing. So I'm really grateful that we had this opportunity, brother. And we definitely, like Jalen mentioned, we're gonna have to do something else again. We gotta go to Atlanta, Jalen. We
Yeah,
were talking about it before. We gotta go to
we
Atlanta.
haven't been to Atlanta in a while, so we definitely need to make our way out there.
Please do. And I will have people lined up for you all to do podcasts, like significant people. It'll be amazing.
All right.
Jalen, David, thank you all. This was awesome.
Thank you so much, Omar. This was great. Just a sliver of your time. It was so impactful to me, for sure. Definitely, I'm pretty sure the audience is going to get impact from this as well. Once again, before you get out of here, I did get the website, but just let them know where they can follow in, tap in with you. If they would like to join the consulting firm, let them
Yeah.
know all of
So
those things.
yeah, the consulting company is Stratos Forge, Stratos Forge Consulting. And you're gonna drop it in the link too, right?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah, so Stratos Forge Consulting, reach out to us. Our goal and our mission when it comes to the consulting company is, how do we take your company into not just 6 figures? How do we get it into 8 figures? Bring us your ideas and we're going to figure out how to truly grow your company, the right way. And you're coming from someone who grew his company to 70 million and quickly pivoted to real estate and grew that to 30 million. So we're the real deal when it comes to it.
I love it. I love it. I got the Stratos Forge website already pulled up as well, so I'm definitely going to put that in the show notes. Y'all, please tap in. Please follow him. Once again, like he said, he doesn't do the social media too much, but the brother boots on the ground doing business in real life. Once again, this is something that we've been wanting to do since taking on interviews again, is connecting with real life movers and shakers, people who aren't just giving us fluff, but people who are actually out here making real impact in real life.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Until
Well,
next
Ali,
time, brothers.
Omar, we appreciate you so much, my brother. It was great connecting with you. You are now a friend of the show, a brother of the show. So anytime you feel like coming back on, you're always welcome.
You just let us know.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Man. Hey, Jalen.
Hey, that was a great interview,
Jalen.
brother. Yeah, that was fire.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey, y'all, listeners, wealthy
I
people.
ain't gonna lie to you. My biggest regret, we ain't have enough time, man. There was so much more stuff I wanted to ask Omar.
Yeah, we definitely got to do a part two.
Yeah,
bro.
we'll definitely do a part two.
As-
Definitely do a part two. Do it live. That live energy cannot be matched. So I definitely would like to get something
Facts.
live in with this brother.
Facts. Yeah, man. So y'all just heard it. There was a dope interview. One of the silent giants of Atlanta, bro. Real genuine brother. Black man with a black family doing business on a high level. I think my biggest takeaway from this interview is just the generational aspect of it. You know, one of the things that he mentioned is that his father was an entrepreneur and he started the
challenged
300-year plan for
Yeah.
the family. Like, if more of us can approach life with that level of foresight, I think so many more of our black families would be able to grow well, because I think a lot of times we get so caught up in the day-to-day and the
Facts.
just getting by that we
But
lose the bigger picture.
I also think that 300-year plan, it gives you structure. So maybe sometimes whenever you're feeling lost, whenever you feel like you can't find your way, you can always go back to that plan and figure like, you know, this is the why, this is the reason, this is the goal. I think it gives you that structure and helps you with your discipline.
Facts. And that's another key part to building legacy, right? A lot of times,
Yes, sir.
you know, with a family, it has to be that level of structure and discipline, running your family like a business. So it was so many gems taken away from this one. I got some regrets, man. Some questions I wish I could have got out
it's
to.
a few questions I would like
but we
to.
gonna get it for y'all in part 2. But y'all, let us know how y'all feeling about the interview, man.
Yeah, let us know how y'all like it.
Who asked
I
us?
felt a little rusty, but we'll get back to it.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure. We got to make sure that we get it off just like on the regular pod episodes, man. It's like riding a bike, though. Once we start, you know, getting it, now we might just be teaching a cycle class in a minute. You know what I'm saying? Like we be on that thing doing tricks. Pause.
Yo. Hey, yo. That was crazy.
Right after I said it, I said, whoa. But you know what I mean? You've been to a cycle class before. You be doing push-ups on that joint. They be doing push-ups on that joint, bro.
You gotta stop. Stop. Just stop.
I'm just saying. Maybe I went to the cycle class I went to. No, you went to a cycle class before.
I understand what you're saying,
that
but
you
the
was
way
like, bro,
that
I'm so tired, bro.
I definitely did, but the way that you're just describing it right now, doing push-ups on that thing, that sounds crazy. That sounds mad wild, brother.
On the bike, bro?
Okay, you say on the bike, but it still sounds mad crazy. I ain't gonna lie to you. I don't even know how we got there. Back to us recording. Back to us recording these interviews and getting back to our bag and getting back to our our conditioning and just finding our pacing and everything. Once again, it was great to get the rust off. Great conversation with the brother. That dedication and that discipline is definitely, I'm gonna use that to my advantage to win this challenge over you, because I'm not rocking the Freaky Man soul patch. I'm just not, dog.
Hey, bro. Only time will tell. But I'm already starting with a fast. I'm on day 2.
Hey, man, that's cheating.
Hey. Art of war, baby.
That's crazy.
You gotta come prepared. You feel
hey, man,
me?
forget you. But yeah, we'll talk in a month, man. Do you got anything else before we wrap up? If not, there's a few things that I do want to touch base on. For
Go
one,
ahead.
I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Thank y'all for the role that y'all play. Thank y'all for being the nurturers, the emotional providers, the people going through and doing the things that nobody sees sometimes that doesn't get appreciated. So happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
You got
Mama, I
anything?
love you. P.O.P. Hold it down.
You got anything you wanted to say?
Man, yeah, shout out to the mothers. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Y'all make sure, again, leave that rating and review. If you need to get insured, we talked a lot about legacy on the interview.
Yes, sir. That's
One
a great
of
way
the
to
great
actually
ways to
build
secure your legacy. Yes, to secure legacy. A lot of times, us in the Black community, we treat it as death insurance and only look at it for burials. But life insurance is a tool that the wealthy use to build and maintain wealth. We've
Buy,
discussed
borrow,
this.
die.
Yeah, I'm saying one of the most viral clips from the BWR podcast, shout out to Chris Senegal, is a strategy that involves using insurance to ensure that the next generation continues to have a platform to build wealth on, like Omar referenced in the episode. So if you need to get insured, if you want to talk to us about getting your life insurance plan together so that you can make sure that your family has a good succession plan, has the funds required, that just in case something would happen or in your absence, you can use it, or in the
You can
future,
use them to
you can use
invest.
it
You
to
can use it to
invest.
buy you a commercial real estate building. You can pull out the capital. You can go and buy commercial real estate.
It's so many options. So again, if you want to, check the link in the show notes. We'll have it there available for you. But that's really all I have for the people, man. Really, really appreciate all y'all. Jalen, you want to close us out, brother, with that wealth prayer?
Yes, sir. Dear Heavenly Father, I just ask that you use me, allow for your blessings to flow through me. As May starts a new month, flowers are blooming. This is a time of just resetting and everything. So we just ask that you reset, you allow all of the listeners, everybody who consumes this podcast to have blossoms, to have abundance, to have a fruitful year, a fruitful remaining year. We just ask that you continue to provide foresight, provide direction, provide strength, provide discipline for everybody to attain those goals that they're working on and to reach the next level that they're pursuing in their life. We ask that you just keep us safe and keep us wealthy. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, amen, and amen. Hey, man, I love it, bro. I love it. I love it. So, y'all, from like I said last time and always, from his lips to God's ears, y'all make sure that
Yes,
y'all
sir.
stay tapped in with us. More greatness on the way. You built for greatness. Y'all stay Black, stay beautiful, and stay wealthy. Until next time, BWR signing out. Peace.
Peace.